Hello, I'm doing a book report on A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. The setting is in Athens, which is in ancient Greece, which I think is very interesting. It's a much different setting than most of Shakespeare's plays. The main characters are mainly Lysander, who is the lover of Hermia, who's also Lysander's lover, Demetrius, who is being engaged to Hermia, yet Hermia doesn't love Demetrius, and Helena, who loves Demetrius, but Demetrius does not love her. I don't really think that there is a most important character in this play. Most of the characters are equal in importance. There was some most interesting characters, like Puck, but I don't think that there was any most important character. The theme of the play is kind of a drama, a love tale, but without the tragedy that is in most of Shakespeare's plays. The plot of the play is Hermia is trying to get married with Lysander, but she is supposed to get married with Demetrius. So they go into the woods to their aunt's house to get married, and Demetrius follows her, and because Helena loves Demetrius, she follows after him even though Demetrius doesn't love him. Now, what's happening is the fairies are starting to get involved in this. The fairies in the woods are starting to get involved in this, and they decide, let's help them. So they find a flower, and they try to sprinkle that. And if you sprinkle the juice onto a sleeping person's eyes, they will fall madly in love with the first person they see when they wake up. So the king of the fairies, Oberon, sent a fairy called Puck to find the flower and sprinkle the juice on the right person's eyes. He mixes up the couples and sprinkles the juice instead of on Demetrius' eyes, so he falls in love with Helena, onto Lysander's eyes, and then he falls in love with Helena, which Helena doesn't want, and then Demetrius is angry with him because he wanted Helena, but Helena didn't want him, and it's very complicated, and it gets kind of mixed up, and everyone's in love with the wrong person, which might be why it's considered a love tale. Not a love tale, but more of a comedy than anything else. The main conflict of the play is when two people both love Hermia, when Demetrius and Lysander both love Hermia, but Hermia only loves Lysander. As you can see, this would result in a fight, and the fairies kind of resolve this by kind of getting them all to go to sleep and sprinkling the juice on all of their eyes and making sure they see the right person when they wake up. What role does magic take in this play? Well, what a better question would be is what role does magic not take in the play? For starters, there's fairies, that's obvious. For second, there's a magic flower that makes a love potion. For third, there's magic little fairies called Puck who are the very smallest fairy but can cast huge amounts of magic power. The whole play revolves around magic. Comedy. The King Oberon makes this play kind of a comedy by telling Puck to go find the flower and sprinkle it on the eyes of the queen of the fairies, who has a servant boy who Oberon wants, but she refuses to give to him. Now, what she tries to do is make the queen fall in love with a wild animal, say a donkey or a lion. In this situation, it was a donkey. And by doing this, say, I'm not going to lift the spell until you give me the servant boy. In the end, he realizes what he's doing is wrong and takes the spell off unconditionally, but again, falling in love with the donkey, that's likely what makes this play a comedy. To compare this to another play, Romeo and Juliet, in Romeo and Juliet, it's kind of a mixed up thing where their families get torn apart, and they get torn apart because of their families, even though they love each other, and that's one of the ways that Shakespeare shows love, and that is why that's one of his most treasured plays. But at the same time, in this play, it's kind of more of a not serious, mixed up kind of comedy play, which is a different way that shows love, and I think it's an interesting play, but nowhere near as good as Romeo and Juliet. My opinion on the play, I think that I love all William Shakespeare plays, but I like the tragedy in them, and this play lacked the tragedy that makes all his plays so good. I thought that there was a couple ways it could be better. I didn't think it was as much of a comedy as it could have been. It was more of a drama. On the other hand, I'm not that into dramas, but I thought overall it was a good play. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.